Everybody. So my hair is definitely growing. As when I take a shower and do conditioning, like condition my hair, I'm not pulling out gobs and gobs of hair anymore like I did maybe about a year ago, 6 months ago. Um, Yesterday actually, I was able to go throughout the day. I was working on insurance, just processing numbers, processing processes, because we had to change insurance companies because it's finally the time to do that. And we wore out our welcome with State Farm, and not because of that, like we're high risk people. It's because just shit happens. And when you think about where all the liability goes, the boat is like the biggest liability. When you think about it, that's what all my husband's accidents have been with, is like either the ice or the lower unit because of sandy bottoms that were shallower than he anticipated. But then all the other accidents that he had was not his fault. A drunk driver, a deer. It's just like, it's just the nature of the beast. And since he is more mobile than I am, it's going to happen to him. And insurance ratings are all based upon the prevalence, of course, and the propensity, and men seem to rate higher, so more riskier. So anyways, so I was doing some shopping yesterday and getting things going, and finally, I got some stuff nailed down with a nice agent in my area, nice family, and so I'm pretty happy. But it was just remembering everything and trying to finagle all the details and figure out the overlap and all that stuff. So it took a lot of brain power. So I did not eat at all until 5 o'clock. Now, usually a couple days ago or even last week, I would have to eat almost immediately after I did my transmission, or even earlier in the morning, because eating, is what insulates and helps your body deal with the frequencies. When you have that massive hunger, that strong hunger, it's because the energy in the environment is so exponential that you have to feed that energy. Your body will tell you. It'll be like you'll feel the hunger pangs. But I didn't feel them yesterday. But I felt them a couple days ago, even last week. So I know that the frequencies are calming down, or I'm getting online or acclimated. A combination of both. But here's the thing. Last night, I felt the frequencies at 9:30. At 9:30 p.m., my heart was beating fast. I'm like, oh my gosh. I didn't have to eat because I already had a pork chop around 5 p.m. I had pork chop and rice and a lot of butter. But I'm like, okay, I need to go to sleep, because that's the only way I can deal with these frequencies. My heart's beating like out of its chest. It's that you have to go to sleep. I have to. Okay, I already ate, so I didn't have to do any eating because I already ate. And so I already had the insulation, but I definitely, I had to fart, and bam, so much stuff came out. And I felt bloated. Not so much stuff, but I felt bloated. And so I felt like when I was talking to my husband, and he was telling me good night because he was going to sleep around like 6 o'clock or so. I felt bloated. And then right after that, I had a fart, and then it was like, okay, so I took a shower, all that stuff. And that was fine. But that's the thing, is that there was definitely a frequency shift. Okay. And then 9:30, so there was that. And then 9:30, I felt the heartbeat. Okay. So I hear the frequency shifts. And then Audrey's like, there was a really loud, long one at around 3:30 a.m. left side. Oh, I believe it, Audrey. Because last night I felt last night, like, holy shit, I felt last night that I was like in and out, like I would be either asleep or completely awake. Like as if I didn't have to sleep. That's how crazy it is. That's how crazy it is. But when you do sleep, you sleep like really good. But it's a short time. It's not like I see people say that they slept for 10 hours straight. They're like, wow, I can't believe I slept for 10 hours. And I haven't slept for 10 hours straight in like who knows how long. Now, when I do sleep, I'll be up, I'll listen to a video, and then I'll fall asleep, and I won't remember anything. Maybe I have a dream or so and stuff, and I'll put it on Facebook in the middle of the night, or post a video because I'm watching that, and then I go right back to sleep again, as if it'll be silent in the room because the video is done and it hasn't gone to the next video, and I'm sweating. It's like serious sweating, and it's hot. Okay, so my nights have been pretty awesome when you think about it, because I don't have to sleep straight through. That's why I'm able to just take in so much information all day long and all night long, because I'm awake and I get intermittent sleep every so often. Okay, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna turn off this light. And I'm gonna open up this. Hold on, I made my coffee. Give me a second. But as we know, the weather in all the different places, like all the three coasts, I'm gonna say three coasts. I'm always saying two coasts, but really there's three coasts. There's Florida, there's the Atlantic seaboard or Eastern seaboard, and there's the West Coast. We all know the West Coast can go through their shit. They're gonna go through some droughts. They're gonna be going through some excessive heat, snow melt, earthquakes, fires. I mean, seriously, when you watch some of the videos that I've watched that try to give you like a more of a bird's eye view of how they view climate change, but they're not bringing in really too much health stuff, but climate change. They'll say certain places are more desirable as far as in the U.S. as far as climate change, but when you think about it, you got to look at, it's not just the heat and the drought. Yeah, it's the flooding, yes. The flooding, drought, heat, oh gosh, tornadoes, all that crazy weather. And then you got to look at your health issues. You got to look at how much do you weigh? Okay, I'm concerned with some of you that live in the really hot climates. And it seems that those that are type A and type B, who seem to be more slight, skinnier, living in really hot places because it's easier to deal with living in hot places. But remember that you could handle it, and there's obviously, it stays pretty stable, right? With a few fluctuations each spring and summer and fall and winter. But now with this climate change, those that are really skinny, and they already have their health issues too, living in extremely hot climates, that heat will destroy you. That heat, how can you get ahead when first of all, if you already have food issues or political about food, and you hardly have any substance to you, and you're living in extreme weather, extreme climate conditions like Phoenix, Arizona, like Texas. See, here's the thing. When I was saying, everyone's leaving the Bay Area and going to Texas, and it's like optimal, everything will be great in Austin, Texas. Not necessarily. Then you say oh, then what about, where you live in the Rust Belt? Well, I live in the Rust Belt, not bad. Yeah, you may have a few floods and a few crazy precipitous weather, maybe some, tornadoes and all of that. But we'll have 80-degree weather, and it'll be a little bit longer. I mean, that's what I'm looking at. We have trees that we had to cut down because they're dead. And so it's going to be hotter. I could deal with the heat, and I could deal with the cold. I don't really go out that often. I'm not into all the social capital of having to be out there and gallivanting. So I'm going to keep it low key in my area as far as climate change. But the other places, like, you'll watch that video and you'll see where they're saying it's going to be a bit more optimal to live. Okay. And so so Austin, Texas is not going to be really the most desirable. It's going to be for a minute. But remember, the USA is not the only place where they can have technology. And remember, we have the United Kingdom, okay? And then we have the European countries and other places. And we have the developing countries that will do that are the Philippines or Mexico or, maybe China, that will develop the factories. Okay, so don't think because we've been a huge superpower for many, many years that the U.S. is not going to be immune to everything. When people are flocking to Nevada or Las Vegas and flocking to Texas and points in between, it doesn't mean it's going to be the most safest. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be subject to extreme heat. And it's interesting, because I know people that are type A and type B that can only be in hot places. And then you can see the life being sucked out of them. And so, yeah, when people are flocking to hot places, okay, hot places, I mean, like Florida, like Texas, like Nevada, like Phoenix, getting out of California, going inland, doesn't mean it's going to be the safest for you. If you don't have the body, if your body is not fluctuating, where you feel like you're as big as a fucking house, more than you usually feel, and if you're not wanting to feel the temperature rising and falling, and you want to be at a temperate, like just even like flatline, like not wanting to feel stuff, you won't survive this stuff. You won't. It's because you have to feel stuff. Not only have to release the demons if there's too much, but you also have to gain the pressure. Okay, so John, I think, is a type B, and he's out there in England. Okay, and he is now finally feeling the COVID like major. And I guess he did get tested to see if he tested positive, and now he has it. Now this is the start. This is just the beginning. I'm sure he's had other sicknesses. He said he's had other sicknesses, like other respiratory conditions, and feeling this and feeling that. But I'll say this, this is what he said. Oh yeah, hold on. This is what he said. Give me a second. He says, I've got COVID, and boy, do I fucking know it. Serious shivers when a slight change in temperature, vomiting. My neck and lower back feels like I've been beat with a bat. Oh yeah, then the backs of my eyeballs and brain feels like it's banging off the side of my skull. Oh yeah, the throbbing. I've never felt this bad or had so many symptoms at once, not forgetting excessive sweating. Wow, this is fucked. Oh, and just wait for the fatigue. Wait for the hunger, the fatigue. Wait for the hives. I had 2 hives last night. It looked like they were bug bites. I'm like, where the hell? I didn't see any mosquitoes. I had not seen any mosquitoes out. It's getting hot over here. But I had a hive over here and a hive on my chest, under one of my mammaries. And I'm just like, and it was itchy. It was itchy. But then they disappeared. But 2 hives came up, as opposed to my whole body, like my whole front was covered with hives a couple years ago. And so understand that whenever you do feel symptoms and are really aggressive, how you deal with it is going to be the difference of whether or not it's going to be that aggressive later on and destroy you, or less aggressive and you still deal with it and not try to attack it, and you let it go through its process, feed it, rest. Then the next time your body goes through another energy shift, it'll be less and less and less, but you still have to deal with it. You can't try to cure it or anesthetize it or put topicals on it. And so I had them a couple days ago, Audrey said, just 2 this time, so fucking itchy. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, so John Oakes has COVID. The beast woke up within. He is blood type B, I believe. The last few years, he had a few bouts of sneezing and respiratory and body aches, but this he's experiencing will be one of the many bouts. Remember, how you deal with affliction will be the difference of whether or not the next one will be more severe or less severe, or whether or not you survive the next energy frequency. As soon as you start trying to use the medical and holistic success, I fucking talking text. Anything against your body, hell, a success against your body is producing, you'll take yourself down notch by notch. Luckily, it seems like he's strong enough. He's been around my information long enough. He knows what to do. I don't know if he'll do what I do, but it's none of my business. He will figure it out, because it will take time for all of us to see how COVID and all the offshoots will affect us, how it will affect our decision-making skills, lifestyles, and belief systems. And so Audrey was mentioning that frequency, Arcturus, whatever, what's the name of that? What is it? I'm going to look up Audrey. I know you could probably say it. Here, I'll look it up. You don't have to say it unless you really want to. All right. Okay, here it is. It's called, what is it called? It's called Arcturus. It's already in the UK, United Kingdom. Warning over a new COVID variant causing carnage in India. I don't doubt that. And it may have been in Britain for a month. And the last couple weeks, we felt something. I mean, people were sick. People are dealing with diagnosable conditions. People are taking more of their medication, cannabis, or more inebriated under the influence. Though no one has said anything out here that we're going through any kind of new variant. Okay, but maybe that's just a precursor, what's going on with when they actually say it in the UK, because I mean, I felt something, and if they wanted to, who's they, the system, if they wanted to give it a name, but no, they haven't given anything a name. They haven't said, oh, you know, they're already basically saying, okay, people are used to now feeling stuff, that they don't have to call it a name. Now, if it so happens that they want to say Arcturus is making its way over to the US, then how do you know it's not the next frequency, you know, called something else, another one after that, okay, and another one after that? It's like, you know, the chicken or the egg, which one came first? Did we have it first and then they get it and it hit India? I mean, which way? See, you don't know where anything starts, where anything begins. So now you have to figure out, you feel it. When you're in the J world, you will feel the frequencies and you'll understand. When you're not in the J world, you'll think that, oh yeah, I got COVID, or yeah, I got this, I got that, which, I mean, is true, but, or you're so used to getting sick, everyone around you, or used to, you know about viruses, people do give off spores and people do get afflicted by them. But that's how people will just disengage and dissociate from the fact that the frequencies are really what's causing the instability, causing people to release their demons, and then you get afflicted. This is my dog's demon, okay? It's still here. This is the one when she scratched me when I was trying to take care of her while she was going through her processes. When it's pretty energetic outside, the scar becomes like, it's like even more raised. Yes, I've smelt stuff too. I could smell it. Was just waiting for them to say, this is Audrey saying, I could smell it, was just waiting for them to say something. This was a very strong shift. I think you had it seem very similar symptoms to what I experienced, a drunken dizziness too. Yeah, feel like you're being taken, possessed. But this has, usually I can get over these type of scratches, right? I mean, I've had scratches. Yeah, sugar left me a reminder. Oh, and she is now part of me, okay? Because whenever the things get crazy, this thing, I could feel it and I itch it every so often. That's how insane this is. This has not gone down. Okay, I've had other scars before from other stuff. Like when my sister and I were I don't know, she scratched me and I have a little scar from like 20, 30, 40 years ago. Okay? But this is insane. This is insane. And it's still, I'm just like, sure, you know. So that's how I'm going to be connected to my dog, because she left me a reminder of our time together. And it's like, okay, she's with me. She's like my little guardian angel, I guess. That's how I have to characterize it, right? Okay, so anyways, okay. So yeah. So the thing right now is wow. Yeah, your voice is your power. You know, you guys keep writing. I mean, write whatever. Write what, I mean, it's great to have a voice, but it depends on, I guess, when you train yourself to write in a blaming kind of way, when you train yourself to write in a blaming way, like it's this person's fault, that person's fault, whatever, then you train your brain to always never take responsibility. Okay? Your voice is your power, but how you use your voice is really the key thing. Is that, can you articulate something without destroying hope? Can you articulate something and leave it open for discussion, leave it open for people to understand both sides, that you aren't being too biased? Okay, that's something I had to learn. Okay, so having a voice is powerful, yes, and you can lead people down a freaking crazy path into destruction, or you can lead people into hope and lead people into possibility and lead people into understanding every culture out there without denigrating all that stuff. And still, you can take a position without saying that people have to do what you do or be what you be or whatever. And so I remember this morning when I woke up out of a dead sleep, because that's just how it works. I'm like, oh, your voice is your power. Like something told me, like my little microbes inside of me, my 69 trillion microbes that built up an infrastructure and called my body, mind, and spirit. Something was telling me your voice is your power. And now we have this energy frequency that's giving you that energy to either destroy yourself or save yourself and keep building on yourself. Okay? And so now that we have this kind of energy, some people are going to worry about taking care of themselves and get through the sicknesses that are afflicting them. And John's going to have to go through that. I don't envy what he's going through. I know what he is going through. And I know what he will continue to go through from this point forward. The beast now woke up within. You know, once the beast wakes up, that's the thing what people don't like about the V's, is that it did wake up the beast within, but they're saying in the medical system is that the beast waking up could be a little bit less than what you would have experienced if you had waited and not taken whatever their preemptive is. And there's no telling, okay? But see, it's how you respond to the beast waking up within is really the key thing. And so even though John didn't do any V's, now he went through certain processes of waking up because there were symptoms that followed up to the point where he is at now. Now he's going to have to deal with, once he gets through this and can regain his strength, and he goes back to work and back to doing other things and whatever, another frequency shift can wake up another beast within. And who's to say it isn't worse, or if it isn't less? It's hard to say. Let me tell you, I did not anticipate last summer how bad I was going to feel with that feeling of lead in my joints, the mycoplasma, not being able to drink, not being able to move, not being able to really eat. Okay? And so that's why when the little bouts of frequency shifts and the little bouts of afflictions, which aren't so little, afflict you, you have to eat. Okay? Eat as much as you can. Because when that big one comes, like a big earthquake, does your body have the infrastructure to deal with that really aggressive, long type of affliction? Just like, with San Francisco, they had to go and retrofit all of those buildings to handle earthquakes. The infrastructure had to match the potential for a big one. There was little small skirmishes here and there, right? But there was big ones. Like I was there in 89 when there's, Loma Prieta earthquake and then the Northridge earthquake. And I felt different earthquakes every so often in California. And so they had to go and retrofit all those buildings to make sure it can handle it. But that's the same thing with you as a body. If you don't have enough infrastructure in your body and you're already in deficit, you're either too skinny or you have so many issues and you have so much substance, you must be able to know how to manage that situation, the small situations, so that way it prepares you for the larger, serious situations. And when someone is really obese, they at least, if they have the wherewithal and the strength, just keep pulling out the old programming, keep chipping away and coughing and sneezing and blowing your nose and drinking the milk to get things growing so it can give your body the strength to push everything out, to push out that old programming. You have a better chance being obese, but it's not saying that doesn't have its own drawbacks and downsides, but those that are really obese, they understand what they have to go through. When those are really underweight and you're dealing with the waking up of the beast and it's creeping and then one day, and then you're still not eating everything you should and you're still being political about food and you're still having, you still have issues with food. When that big one comes, it could wipe you out. It could bankrupt the hell out of you. That's why it's so important to eat, especially when you're underweight. And when you're underweight, there's a reason why, because you have so much energy conversion and you have issues with food. And to you, binging out on carbs could be a few noodles. But to me, binging out on carbs is eating like a pound of spaghetti with some cheese, Parmesan cheese and provolone cheese and tomatoes and, well, of course, spaghetti sauce and meat and mushrooms and onions and a little bit of garlic. I mean, that's to me, binging out on carbs. But to other people, they have a different thing about binging out on carbs. So even what we think is binging may not even be correct or the same. I'll say correct. And so you seriously have to have the body, the mind and the spirit, the body. You have to have substance to be able to handle these energy conversions. Because again, when you're feeling these different bouts and people are taking all their pills or powders, supplements, and detoxes to assuage even those smaller type of symptoms, it's just building up for the big one. You're just building up the pressure for the big one. And when that big one comes, you will not have what it takes. Because again, you want to be cured. That's the danger of wanting to be cured in this environment. You will build up so much pressure that when that pressure finally goes because you can't handle the next high level energy frequency, it can wipe out your whole bank account, literally, like your vital organ failure. That's why people don't survive heart attacks and strokes. The reason why the lady on Dr. Phil survived a heart attack or stroke or whatever the hell that she said she had, is because she had body to her. Yeah, they played it up and put her in a wheelchair to make her look more, poorly, but she survived her stroke that was already set to happen anyways because she had body to her. But she was scared shitless, abso-fucking-lutely, because you were never trained to deal with any of your predisposed issues. You were always trained to cut it out, use some kind of anesthetizing agent, or use some kind of detox and force yourself, like a laxative, to force it all out every single time you feel something. So you never were trained to deal with and face the demons. You were always trained to run away from your demons, drug it out, be under the influence, go through your hormones and be all love and all that shit, right? And so, or like, try to force yourself not to express, to be stoic. Okay, that's part of the Hermetics, is stoicism. And then you have all your different thinkers, like Rumi. And I've had people quote Rumi all over the place, and it just always struck me, my gut was always like, I don't like the poet Rumi. Yeah, there's some stuff, but really when you think about it, the words, the casting of the spells. And so when I said, let us avoid using the word kill when it comes to ourselves or anyone else for that matter. Because when Rumi was saying, instead of fighting the world, kill your ego. Now, let me tell you, there's people that are on my Facebook that I adore. I've had history with them, and good people, great people, but what they say on Facebook, I know they're saying, I know they're countering what I'm saying, and I'm countering what they're saying, but we're not doing it purposely like on each other's Facebook. We like the things that aren't like that about each other, but I don't go and say, oh, I don't agree with this, and here, let me go and tell you why I don't agree with this. No, I put it on my Facebook, and I take that meme, that quote, and I add my own 2 cents to it and completely flip the script. And so when poets say kill your ego is part of you. You have the ego and an id. That's part of the psychological makeup of who you are. Now, how much ego is really to the point. How much? How much is too much? How little is too little? The ego is what you put out there. The id is the things that it's like inside or whatever. Okay, and you can go Google all that. It's all it's all psychology terms. But you rely on the ego and the id to be balanced, to understand the voice in your head, and then how you express, and then how people relate to each other and information. And so even the people in the Rumi world and the whole love world can be extremely full of ego. By saying everyone has an ego and stop fighting. Okay, so you want people to lay down and die. Is that what you're saying? Well, that's what they're saying. Instead of fighting the world, like fight for your life, kill your ego. Just kill that part of you and let somebody else control you and then cannibalize you. See, that's the thing about when you're parroting and quoting people of the past that are dead. Yeah, there'll be some things that might be great. But there's other spells that they sneak in. Just like the subprime mortgages. Yeah, they look great. Look at A+ on top of that little pile of crappy mortgages, right? But they don't realize what that one A+, there's like 50 that are Fs right underneath. Just like with being a Democrat, Republican. When you claim Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, it may be like one little idea that's so great, but then there's 50 other ideas that are like, holy shit, look what they're doing. They're working you to death, playing you to death, taking your money, and making you feel like you're nothing or you're weak. And here, and we give you all the different operations and drugs and free this and free that, or work to death, and make everyone feel bad because you're working to death and they're not, because they're trying to save themselves. That's exactly what people do. They don't understand that the words have a lot of fucking value, weight, and they cast spells. That's the danger of the love world because of deficit. Now I'm going to get into deficit. Addiction to love or not wanting love. See, I've had people say to me, oh, Jillian, you were never loved right as a child. You didn't have the right mother to love you the way that you need to be loved. And that's why you're this way. That's why you're angry. And that's why you don't want to be loved. And that's why you don't like all the love, love, love. Let me tell you, again, I'll tell you scientifically what love is. It's oxytocin. It's a bonding hormone. To be a parent, child, husband, and wife, when you're coming together and you're having an orgasm and you have a chemical reaction, and the sperm and the egg come together, and now you have a kid. Now you're in deficit. Now you're in deficit. But you were in deficit too as a husband and wife coming together, having that sexual reaction and intercourse and all of that. That's all from deficit, because you are now saying that you are not going to be strong enough to carry on your own personal genetic line. You have to now have a child to carry it on because you don't have what it takes to stay alive indefinitely. And so that's how the system has characterized what life is the fact that you die, mom and dad, and you let your child, your offspring, whatever they are, to carry on the genetic line over and over and over again. And that's like a slavery. That's animal husbandry, kind of, sort of. And that's like slave mentality. That is so many things, but our society has been built on that. Been built on the love, love, love. Having a bunch of friends, that your connection is the pleasure that you bring out in each other. Sometimes it's hobbies, and I understand that. That's great. My husband has friends with hobbies, but it's not like, you know, we see, I don't see people every single weekend. Maybe he does because of the fishing stuff, but I don't need to see people all the time. I see people once in a while because I actually derive more benefit on my own thinking than I am exchanging hormones, exchanging those energies. And so love is like a superficial glue. Love, the oxytocin, that keeps people who are in deficit together. Okay, that's what families are. Families are fractions. They're fractional reserves. They're fractions. They're fractions of their potential. And when you have a large family, now you're seeing so much fraction of potential. And then you see with large families, there's one that's like, holy shit, what happened to him? Or what happened to her? Or what happened to she and him and it and thee and they and whatever. And they're like, yeah, well, this one got all the great genes over here, but this one, man, he got all the leftovers, or she got all the leftovers, and now she's struggling and he's not. And so then you see the distribution of genes. You see, and that's, the system wanted that because they wanted to see who, what they could produce and who can then be specialized in certain areas based upon their personality, based upon their strengths, based upon their body, mind, and spirit and belief system, and in their geographical area, the socioeconomic status, the economics of that, of the society at the time. And yeah, I mean, that's like taking advantage of every single type of body, mind, and spirit, okay? And their deficits and their strengths and all that. And that's why, you know, we have so many different jobs based upon your skill level, your ability to adapt. And sometimes you can't make someone who doesn't have what up here or here in the body to understand or be focused on because of whatever. I mean, I was watching, I was trying to think of last night, I was watching The Crown, and this is the part where Margaret Thatcher, and she has a son and a daughter, but she favors her son because her son is stronger. Her son had the capability to be everything in his potential, but the daughter didn't. The daughter really had more of like, oh, the housewife, just the cooking. And so Margaret Thatcher was saying in that show that her dad gave her, like, fostered every single potential within her, because she was the Iron Fist, lady, the Prime Minister of England way back when. And her daughter, who was confronting her mother, was saying, well, you had issues with your mom, so just because you had issues with your mom doesn't mean you have to have issues with me as your daughter, but I feel like I'm not being focused on. I feel like I'm the second fiddle. And Margaret Thatcher was saying, yeah, you are second fiddle because you're not strong enough like your brother. And she's like, you can't make somebody strong enough when they're not. You can't instill or ask them to be intellectual if they don't have that capability to comprehend information. And she was right. I mean, so that's why she put her eggs in her son's basket than her daughter's basket, because she knew it would be a losing venture with her daughter. But then you get to figure out what kind of relationship do you want with people, with your son, with your daughter. They both have different strengths, but Margaret Thatcher is all about strength, about fulfilling your potential, about wanting to be something bigger than what you are, wanting to move things and change the world and do this. And I mean, that's pretty awesome. But the people who are not strong enough to rise up to the challenge are going to feel like they're being slighted. They're going to feel like they're coming in second fiddle. And yeah, because if you don't make yourself strong, no one can do that for you. So you rise up to your own potential and even then increase it and add more to yourself, because no one can really add it for you. Or people are gonna treat you exactly the way you think about yourself. If you think you're weak and you're afraid of everything and you have issues and cancer disease and chronic illness and that's it, then that's how people are gonna treat you with all of those issues. And they'll be very careful around you because they don't want to hurt you if you're too fragile. Okay? And so that's the thing, is that you got to realize that what we project out there is how people are going to treat you. And so when you're projecting love, 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 you are showing weakness, in my opinion. Now, I know my opinion doesn't work shit when you think about it in the scheme of things, because someone else could think completely different. But when you have children, weakness, you're now taking percentages of yourself and you're taking away from yourself. Are you recouping exactly the same resources that left you? Most people are not. Actually, most people are not. Now people are trying to, but they're at so much deficit because they had so many children, they have so much now to come back from. Okay? And so that's the thing. And so what you project out there, the love, 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 it's not only weakness, but then you're also showing in deficit. But here, let me read this, okay? Because we're in a society right now where everyone is in major deficit, like everybody. And so when you're all about love, that's the only thing you know, and you think that's where you draw strength. Well, yeah, if you're in deficit, then you need love, because love, it doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? You have to have somebody around there, like a dog or a child or a husband or a wife or a bunch of friends, to go and have that energy conversion to bring out the love in you. But I have enough love in me and respect that I don't need a dog around me. I barely need my husband around me. He's out there on the road battling the world out there. Okay? And then I give you guys my energy, what I can afford to give you, because I can afford it. Okay? But I don't need the love, love, love. I don't need people to just excessively just goo love all over me. It's creepy. Okay? So, addiction to love or not wanting love can be characterized as someone who's been injured or not. See, when people say, oh, Jillian, you've been loved, no, I've released those demons. Before I did the whole J world, I was all about the fucking love. Oh my God, I was loving my husband. I still am, but not in the way I was. I would want to fit in with everybody and show my love and be there for them and give them stuff and buy them stuff and try to help out their kids and plan parties or help them move, and then you see what love turns into. It turns into, what will you do for me to show me how much you love me and respect me and all that stuff. That's where love goes. It's what can you do for me lately? What can you do for me now? And then love turns into a manipulation. Okay? And so once I released the demons and I let all my demons hang out and be released and all that, and I released everyone around me, and I'm like, I'm not playing these games anymore. I'm done with those games. If we're going to have any kind of relationship, it's going to be intellectual, because I'm done with the whole using the body as a way to relate to people. And that means, yeah, like partying so much or going jogging and all that stuff. Now it's developing my own brain. But once I release all those demons, now it's just like, I don't need your love. You don't need my love. I don't know you. You don't know me like that to believe in that. My husband and I, we have our own shared experience of love and commitment and contractual business obligations. But that's the only one I'm really like doing the love with, okay? Anyone else out there, I get it. You love me and that's how you express it because you like my information. Do you really love me? You don't even really know me, but that's fine. People express their respect and their admiration in the word love, and I get it. But in reality, focusing on love, when you think about it, there's something to do with with deficit, but again, in this world, deficit is mainstream. It is normalized to be deficit so that people don't think anything's wrong with it. So, to addiction to love or not wanting love can be characterized as someone who's been injured or not. You don't necessarily have to be injured to not want to be in love, want love in life or a lot of love, okay? You don't have to be injured to want love, okay? Then I'm like, okay, so if you want a bunch of love, you don't have to be injured. It's just your choice on what you want, right? And you don't necessarily have to be injured to want so much love in your life, okay, to not want love. So what I'm saying is on both ends, if you want a lot of love, you don't have to be injured. If you don't want love, you don't have to be injured. It's just your preference on what your lifestyle is today. Okay? Now, so I'm giving both sides to it. If you think because someone wants love in their life all the time that they're injured and addicted, okay, that's one way to look at it. Because if you don't have it, then you get depressed. Okay, so if you want so much love and there's a reason and you're addicted to it and if you don't have it, if you're not seeing your friends every so often, if you're not seeing people all the time and all that stuff, and you feel depressed, you feel lonely, depressed, and then, yeah. But if you think someone who does not want love in their life as injured, okay, that's one way to look at it if you have it, you become depressed and in fear of dependency. So, yeah. So wanting love can make you addicted. Not wanting love can make you depressed. So I know this seems it's very confusing, but it's whatever. So what about understanding balance, okay? How much is too much? How little is too little? It's not your call to say that someone's injured or not injured when it comes to love. When you have it, do you chase after more of it? How addicted and dependent are you to it? When you don't have it, how much do you need in order to survive? How much is too much? How little is too little? And this is where I say love is used as a manipulation because of deficit. All right? And so you would never have to suspect ulterior motive if everyone was not in deficit behind all their love bombing. So we have to work from a very level playing field when most people are at the same level so you don't suspect what their love entails. Why do they love you? As a manipulation. But since we have so many diverse people, some are in extreme deficit, they use love the use of love has been weaponized. And so, yeah, I should be able to suspect why it is you're all just all over me and all that stuff. I mean, I'll tell you, salesmen love their clients, the ones that keep just forking over the dough. Okay? When someone feels like they're missing something and you give them that part that they're missing, they love you for that. When you tell them they're beautiful and they haven't really been told that, or they were compared to someone that they didn't think they'd be compared to and it was great, they love you for it. Okay? I mean, it's not difficult to figure out what people are lacking and fulfill that, and now the love comes out. It can be a manipulation. And if you know what people's weaknesses are, if you know their deficits, you can play that fiddle, but you could use it for evil or use it for good. A lot of people out there who are nefarious will use that kind of weakness, of knowing people's weaknesses about love, for nefarious purposes, for evil. And so before you start defending how much love everyone should give off and take in and whatever, maybe understand fully why you think you need so much love in your life. You'll find it's because you are in deficit. Okay? When most humans are not in deficit, there won't be an argument. There won't even be a problem. And so that's the thing with people are chasing, relationships, and they can't seem to figure out why it is they can't seem to find a relationship, because they're chasing after the wrong thing. Chasing after love is like looking for like chasing the dragon. Like it's an addiction. And then when you're with that person that you thought that you idealized for a minute, and you realize it's anticlimactic, it's not what you thought. The feelings aren't what you thought. That person has issues. That person, has mental issues. That person is abusive. That person needs so much from you and is sucking the life out of you, literally and figuratively. Okay? So when you're chasing love, I don't care what it is, from friends and family and relationships and all that stuff, eventually it's not going to be as fulfilling as you thought it was. And if it is fulfilling, And it's because you're in so much deficit that they're completing that piece until they can't, until they can't, or until you both take each other over the cliff. You both cannibalize each other over the cliff, and it could be like 5 of you, it could be 2 of you, it could be 3 of you. So that's the thing about love and relationship, is what are you in it for? Why? And when you stand on your own 2 feet and you can be alone more than not, and you're not chasing love, because before my husband and I would have a lot of relations because he was home more, maybe, we had whatever. And now over time, my relations have dwindled to where I'm like, I don't have to have sex. I could do it. Everything works, but I don't really have the desire to want to. I don't need that kind of validation. I don't need that hormonal response release. It's not necessary. It doesn't drive me. What drives me is up here. What drives me is making sure that we make the right financial decisions, and we're finding ways to survive this. But that part, of relations that people do so much of in the beginning of a relationship because of hormones, and that's what all the chemical attractions, and unless you're doing arranged marriages, that's what usually brings people together, is those chemical attractions. And then over time, people mature, or they change, or, and you got to, if you respect each other enough, you just go with the flow and take what you can get and figure out how to take care of yourself. Okay? Because you don't want somebody cannibalizing you, and you don't want to be cannibalizing somebody else. That's why I'm very careful with how I spend money and what we spend money on, because I know he's a major breadwinner. I don't want to enslave him. I let him enslave himself. That's why I don't have credit cards. That's why he has credit cards in his name for all of his wants and needs, but I don't have any in my name. But I don't need anything. Everything that I need is just food, a few clothing, and maybe, maintenance on my computer and a few program stuff, and that's essentially it. I don't have any major hobbies. My brain is my hobby. Understanding the world is my hobby, and it's not very expensive. I can afford intellect. But what's expensive is all the worldly desires, all the social capital, keeping up with the Joneses. That's what's expensive. And people are putting their energy in keeping up with the Joneses, in entertaining a huge family, all these friends, associations, but that was our society. And so when you don't do that anymore, and you invest in your brain, in your body, in your mind, in your personal spirit, you will see that you will not need half the shit that's out there, and your life will become easier. It won't be so drama-filled of all the crap that's out there with people and their idiosyncrasies. And then you see people, certain times, and it doesn't have to be like all the time, and you can still enjoy them and have meaningful conversations if there is an opportunity for that, or not. And you can't really always have meaningful conversations with everybody. You really can't. Because maybe they don't want to have a meaningful conversation with you. Maybe they can't. I don't know. And that's why you use Facebook to get your voice. Because I'm telling you, people around you don't always want to hear that voice. They can't handle your voice. Your voice is too much for them. It means that your lifestyle, your belief systems, your thoughts, they don't want to hear it. They won't hear it. They won't even entertain it. They'll tell you to not talk about whatever in their presence. That's when you have to then turn to a different medium. And you can respect that. Okay? It's their house. When you're in your house, talk about whatever the hell you want. But when you're in somebody else's house, now you play second fiddle. It's not your place to hold court. And I had to learn that. It's hard to learn. But yeah, so anyway, so the whole thing with the love, in my opinion, in my world, when you're all about love, it is a weakness. It is a weakness that can be used to manipulate, to use as a leverage point. That's why the system wanted you to have dogs, wanted you to have kids, not only to nation build and to use for innovation and experimentation, but it also keeps you easily controlled, because then if your kid is at stake, your dog is at stake, someone's going to take it from you, or call the police on you, or call CPS, or call the Humane Society on you. Then you'll try to conform so they don't do that. It's not, yeah. When you're leveraged like that, you're fucked. When you're leveraged like that, okay. Because no matter what, if someone sees what you're doing, they don't like how you raise your kid or what you raise your kid with and all that, then either conform or you look like, whatever bad guy they want to paint you at. And if you then dissociate yourself from your child or anything that is like a dependent, then they'll think you're a monster. So you can't win no matter what when you have a dependent like a dog or a child or a pet or anything like that. You can't win with the system. You can't. And so that's why all that love out there is a major weakness. And so if you want to be strong, get your kids as mature as possible, as self-reliant as possible, and get them out of the house, and they will figure it out, and you start building yourself up. Because I'll tell you, if you don't do that, if they're not independent enough, that they will suck the life out of you. Okay? Because if the system isn't like making you do things that are going to be crazy and threaten all this stuff, then your kids that don't, have any boundaries will take everything they can. So anyways, I'm rambling there. But yeah, I wanted to focus on that, the love, because I've focused on it so much. And it started out with like all the empaths that I was having issues with, the empaths, and the way they interacted with me in the beginning. I tried to let some of the people who are all about love come back on, and maybe thought they'd temper that or at least keep it on their Facebook. But when that oxytocin permeates every cell in your body, unless you start releasing those demons, there's no way a person can temper who they are. If that's who they are, is basically oozing oxytocin and it's emanating out of every pore, the only thing you can do is be like, hey, I respect you, but I can't have you in my world because it's too much. It's just too much. The attention is too much. The obsession is too much. Because even hate is the lack of oxytocin. And that also, people have boundaries and they hate you. When someone loves you so much or they hate you so much, there's a boundary issue. And they will shower you with their love, with their hate. And that's the plus and the minus of the oxytocin. Too much oxytocin or not enough. And that's why the cannabis world can be very dangerous. Because you have so much oxytocin, you're all about love, because that cannabis brings it out until the body can't produce any more oxytocin. And then now you're bitter and full of hate and deteriorating. And you have to put on an act in order to be somewhat normal. But when someone crosses you, it's easy to switch. And so that's the crazy thing about drugs, is that you can use up so much and it deplete your body of the hormones that drug triggers and elicits, and then you are left like a shell of a person trying to bring these hormones together, and they can't. That's why the thing when these energy frequencies are so crazy, especially at night when you're supposed to sleep, and your melatonin, the hormone, is supposed to help you sleep. That's why you eat food, so that way you can override these frequencies that are trying to keep you up. And so you have enough hormones like melatonin to put you to sleep. Not taking melatonin supplements, okay, or taking drugs to go to sleep, but you eat food to go to sleep. That's what I noticed when I had the PMDD, when I was the last 30 years of that affliction. Every single time, I felt whatever I felt, and I was hungry, and I was also tired. I would eat a bunch of food and I would go to sleep. Eat a bunch of food because I'd be so bloated, I would feel like shit because everyone was skinny in my society, and here I am, I have this belly that I have to deal with, and I have the shits and all the constipation and just all the fluctuations of the hormones and the anxiety. So it was just it was horrid, because everyone else around me was all like, what's wrong with you? You can't handle your PMS? Oh, you're so weak, or you're so this. Why don't you get on a drug? Why don't you go take something for it? Why don't you go stop drinking coffee? Stop doing this. I'll tell you, everyone and their mother, when I was going through that, would always try to find a way to cure me, anesthetize me, recommend me a doctor, a diet, a pill, a powder supplement, a detox. Oh, God. So now, when these frequencies happen, and it's so aggressive in this environment, I eat food, and that food produces melatonin, so I can go to sleep. Fancy that. That food actually can give you the hormones that people are selling in their fucking supplements. to do. But you have to go through the process. You got to feel everything. You got to feel the heat. You got to feel everything. You got to feel all the predisposed issues so you can finally use food as a way to help your body acclimate to the changing conditions. So, anyways, that's all I'm going to say right now. But I wanted to really just focus on that whole thing with love, and then with Rumi and all of his stuff. It's Sufism. Rumi is a Sufi mystic. Sufism is, what is it? Muslim mysticism or something, mysticism. But it's just like Buddhism, kind of. It's like Jewish mysticism, Sufism. And it's a lot of it is death culture. It's a lot of death culture. And I'm not going to be repeating Rumi or any Buddhist principles, really, when you think about it. I mean, some of them are great, but that's just like, again, a subprime mortgage packet that you sell people. You have some great sayings, and you have all the gifts. Oh, here's the gift, but here's like 2 gifts for every 50 curses I'm going to give you. So people are like, oh, I'm so enamored with this quote that has nothing bad to say, and there's no kill or anything, those words. So they're all loving that one quote, and then they don't realize there's other quotes by Rumi that are like the curses and the spells, and it takes away from the gifts. And that's how people get tractor beaming and people, place, and things. In politics, religion, and science, they glom onto the thing that are all great, that dazzles them, but they don't realize there's a lot more shit going on underneath those ratings of A, like the subprime mortgages, again, financials. That's why we had a total downturn of the economy, complete, just up, downturn, whatever. And that's with humans. They get all enamored with the fun stuff, but they don't realize all the fun stuff, the 2 things that are fun, pretend if we're going to put a number to it, there's 50 things that are going to kill them and destroy them because of that. So now it's time to invest in yourself, in your brain. Okay? So you can protect your body, mind, and spirit. Bye.